Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 609 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Mike Ailon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and an author. Our sixth book just came out. It's called I'm So Beautiful, It's Ridiculous: Unleashing and Promoting Strength, Self-Worth, and Real Sisterhood. So go and pick up that book on Amazon or Barnes& Noble today. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring college students together. Fun fact, there are so many great apps out there that can help you with mindfulness at the start of every single day, even if you're new to doing meditation. I do encourage you to use some form of meditation every morning. You will be shocked at the results that you're going to be able to get in a very short amount of time in terms of reducing your stress and anxiety on campus, improved focus in class, enhancing your sleep. By the way, you all need some more sleep than what you're getting. Also, boost your emotional regulation, and also just supporting your overall mental health. So let's talk about all of this and much more with our next guest. Laurie S. Jacobson is an author, speaker, and certified health coach. She has spent more than 25 years promoting health and wellness through education, media, and personal appearances. She's been featured in local and national publications and also hosted Cooking for Health on WJAC-TV. Welcome to the show, Laurie.
Well, thank you, Dr. Mike. It's lovely to be here with you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Anytime you want to talk about alleviating stress and anxiety, on myself and all of our listeners, we are all in. So it is fantastic having you on the show. And, I'm not stressing anything in particular with the 25 years promoting health and wellness. I mean, I'm just impressed that you've been able to do it for so long. I think that's incredible. So kudos to you on all of that. And, your book is called Unexpected Awakening, and it shares a very profound story of healing and rediscovery through mindfulness and Buddhism. Can you start out this conversation by telling us what inspired your journey to a Buddhist monastery and what were those first few days like?
Well, I think my journey started actually back in college. When I was in college, I was on a sort of health crusade. I saw that a lot of other women were getting breast cancer, and I didn't want that to be me. So I started really some self-care early on, and I went to school in Boston, a big college town, and Boston had so many health food stores, meditation centers. It was very accessible. I think I took my very first yoga class when I was like a freshman in college. And there were, I was always interested in Buddhism because the Buddha is just such a great teacher. He has so much wisdom. And I had tried meditating and then I stopped and tried meditating and stopped. And it really wasn't until I was in a very dark place that I found this monastery not that far from where I happen to live and decided, well, I've tried all these other conventional means to get me out of this dark place. The Buddha's supposed to have the answer. Um, I I just said, why not? I'm going to go. I'm going to just do everything that they tell me to do, whether it's waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning or meditating for hours. Um, so I was inspired by really the Buddha's teachings to get us out of suffering. I mean, that's the first noble truth is that life is suffering. It's really not I think it's translated wrongly because it really means things aren't going right. It's just unsatisfactory. And, we all have things in our lives that are not, that make us feel sad or grieving or just things aren't in our life are traumatic and aren't going right. So I thought, all right, I'm going to go to the monastery. And when I first got there, it was like another world. Like those first few days you asked me about, I just felt like a stranger in a strange land. I was like, what am I doing here? This is so weird. I don't know if I made the right decision. And I had a lot of fear. I had fear like, well, what's going to happen? Is anything going to happen? What's going to come up? What if nothing happens? And I'm still in this dark place. So initially, I just stuck with it. I got through my fear, and I'd say by like day 4 and 5, I started to settle and get comfortable. And that's when a lot of the magic started to happen.
Wow, that's so fascinating. I think the first step is understanding that you're in a dark place, right? I think a lot of college students will struggle with anxiety, with depression, with the aftermath of some trauma that happened in their childhood, but then it just goes on unresolved, essentially. That's why I see a lot of college students abusing drugs or alcohol. They're essentially masking some trauma that happened to them as a child, but it's never really been diagnosed or treated. So I guess my question is, what were some of the warning signs that you were living in a toxic or an emotionally abusive environment? And what advice would you have for other students who might see those same signs in their own relationships?
Well, that's a really good question because I think a lot of people don't even realize that they are in an emotionally abusive relationship. And just before, because there's so many signs. I mean, there's so many red flags. But before I get into that, I just want to comment on what you were saying about how these traumas are unresolved. And what's the beauty of what happens in meditation is that a lot of these traumas, we stuff them down. We just press them down. We don't want to deal with them, and they get really deeply embedded in our unconscious. And when you meditate, at least for, relatively long periods of time, it opens that up. It just starts, the mind gets so quiet and it just starts to bubble up these things that we've been pushing down. And that I do mention something that happened to me in the book that was something that I didn't even realize I had pushed down so deeply, and it did come up for me, and that was a great part of my awakening. But in terms of red flags, I mean, I think everybody can sort of sense when they're being controlled. And, that's one thing is when you feel like your partner is like trying to control you, that should be a red flag. When your partner is puts you down, even in a joking way, if it happens over and over again, that's a red flag. Your partner is very moody, back and forth. One day, they're in yelling at you. That next minute, you're the most wonderful thing in the world. Your partner flies into a rage a lot. Your partner tries to always find out where you're going. Um, there, God, your partner isolates you. My partner, oh, he didn't, it's part of the control and the manipulation when they try to isolate you from friends or family. They have more control over you. And one of the very worst things that, again, I mentioned in the book, I think it's the ultimate form of control, is when your partner threatens to commit suicide. And it's like, what do you do then? I mean, oh, if you walk out on me, you're gonna find my brain splattered on the wall. What do you do? I mean, you don't want to be responsible for that. So, and that's an extreme. But there are other, as I said, subtle red flags. It's important to, um, know who you are and know when you feel like you're being disrespected in any way.
Yeah, very, very important. Now, the world that the college students are living in right now is one of constant simulation. We're talking about their smartphones. We're talking about notifications that are constantly going off. We're talking about pressure to perform on a college campus in order to get the grades so they can get the job in a very difficult economy where there are no jobs. So, what is some of the practical, real world ways that college students can bring mindfulness into their everyday lives?
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked that because there, you don't have to go to a Buddhist monastery and sit in meditation for hours
Well,
and hours.
good. Okay,
Okay.
good, good.
Let me just make that clear. You don't have to do that. Uh, there, you can spend a few minutes every day, like you mentioned in your intro. You suggest, meditating
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
start your day.
Hmm.
What I would say is when you are stressed and all these things are going off around you, your phone, your pressure, pressure, your exams, hit the pause button. I like to say, hit the pause button. Just stop and try to ground yourself in some way to the present moment. A lot of times, a good way of doing that is to focus on some aspect of your body. So, and it also depends like where you are. Do you have the opportunity to walk into a restroom and do a couple of deep breaths? I've always told some of my students, if you're at work and you just have to just calm down, just go in the ladies' room, go in the men's room, take several deep breaths that will physiologically relax the nervous system. If you can't do that, if you're in a meeting, let's say, or you're, with friends and you don't want to be obviously doing deep breaths, um, focus on your feet on the ground. Just notice, oh, I feel my feet on the ground. I feel very grounded. And then the other thing is that we hold a lot of tension, like in our upper part of our body. We may not even realize how high our shoulders are lifted up. So what I do a lot of times is I'll pause and I'll just drop my shoulders. Just that act of just exhaling and dropping the shoulders can relax the body and just refocus, reconnect, and feel grounded. Or again, another area is our jaw. We don't realize how much tension we hold in our jaw, and that can get into our neck. So you can just focus on that area and just relax the jaw, and then the neck will relax as well. Another thing you can do is just soften your gaze. I mean, our eyes, there's a lot of tension in our eyes as well. So if we're, and when we squint and when we're upset, our whole forehead will tense up. So you can just like, if you can't be in a place where you can close your eyes, you can just try to soften your gaze. And all of these things to do by bringing the attention to the body will relax the mind as well. And just taking those few minutes out, if you can't, spend some time meditating or taking deep breaths, just focus on the body, relax a body part. And I really like to exhale too. Like when we talk about deep breathing, people think, oh, deep breath in and then exhale. If you can exhale for a longer period of time than the inhale, that's very, very powerful. So you might inhale for 4 counts, exhale for 6 counts, real nice and slow. So slowing down and focusing on the body at times when you're feeling stressed can bring you into a more mindful state.
Mm, very helpful. I'm really curious about your time at the monastery. I'm kind of fascinated by the whole thing because you practice silence for 22 days at the monastery. And as humans, I don't think we're really built necessarily to not be communicating with others and like be like in that solitary state. So what happens? I mean, you mentioned that some of the trauma started coming up for you in that time around the fourth or the fifth day. But what happens to your mind and your body when the noise of the outside world disappears over 22 days?
Well, it's pretty amazing. It's pretty, I mean, wrote a whole book trying to describe it. It was so amazing.
Hmm.
But first let me just clarify. I really was not silent for 22 days.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. I was on a silent retreat that was only supposed to last 7 days, but I happened to get snowed in. which kept me there longer, which was such a blessing in disguise because I needed those extra days because things were starting to happen. So I wish I can't say that I was silent for 22 days because, we did have to talk to each other. We had to get out there with shovels and try and shovel ourselves out of the snowstorm. But
Right.
silence is so powerful. I mean, that's why you go on a silent retreat, because when you're silent, it's like, yeah, we do need interaction and we do need conversation, and that's really important. But when we are silent, it's like, well, let's say I'm talking to you. Sometimes I'm not really listening to you as much as thinking about what my response to you is going to be.
Mm.
So for one thing, when you're silent, you tend to listen more. You tend to use your ears more to really pay attention. And you tend to use your eyes more. You get to see things more clearly because you're not thinking about, well, what am I going to say? And it just makes you go inward more than outward because when we speak, it's so directed outward toward another person. And it just helps you just really be more mindful of what is happening, not how am I going to respond to what is happening. Um, and it's just in terms of like the experience, it was just it compounded upon itself. So the longer you spent with meditation, the more things started opening up for you, especially in that silent state. Things just would open up more and more, and it just was a pretty amazing whole experience when you slow down, when you're quiet, the clarity of mind just starts to blossom. It's just pretty amazing.
Mm. Sounds incredible. Okay. And you have a lot of experience, over 20 years as a certified health coach. I'm wondering, we've been talking about the mind here. What role does physical health play in supporting your emotional and spiritual well-being?
It's all connected. This is why people practice holistic health because you can talk about mind, body, spirit, mind, body, spirit. They are so connected. When when I first started this journey, my health journey, I just focused on nutrition. That's just one part of the journey. What I had started, experimenting with, well, what if I cut this out of my diet, or what if I added this to my diet? Um, so you have, and then the nutrition also supports the physical. And so you have, exercise and nutrition, which supports your physical health. And when your physical health is supported, it just naturally will lead to better mental and emotional health. You'll just feel better in your body. You won't feel sluggish. You'll have more energy. Um, and we all want to feel good. And I truly believe that when you focus on one of the three, whether you're focusing on the body, the mind, or the spirit, they will naturally lead to and support each other. So let's say you just wanted to a lot of I'm guessing a lot of your guys, your college student guys, they like to go to the gym and work out. And that's great, because they're taking care of their bodies. Hopefully they're eating right too, I hope. Um, but they're taking care of their bodies, which will in turn, put their minds in a state of, wow, this feels good. How else can I feel good? And gradually gravitate to more better emotional decisions, better emotional health. So physical health definitely is a part of a whole picture of health. And no matter where you start, whether you start with let's say you start with just, I'm going to clean up my diet.
Mm.
Well, you might be feeling, oh, wow, I've lost weight. I feel good. I'm going to take up, resistance training because I feel good. And then you're feeling so good in your body. It's like, wow, my mind's just like chattering a little too much. I'm noticing like maybe I should just practice a little mindfulness. So they're all connected and they all can be gateways to each other.
Hmm. You started talking about nutrition, and I think we should drill down a little bit on that because you have what you call an untrendy take on good nutrition. I'm very curious about that. And I also am wondering about some misconceptions that you see among young adults in terms of their health and their wellness.
Okay, let's start with the second part first.
Yeah,
I think that college age students, young adults should be, well, I shouldn't say the word should, but maybe they take their health for granted and they think, oh, this is something I can do later.
right.
I don't have to pay it. I'm in good shape. I'm young. I feel great, so I can go to my parties and drink as much as I want, or have pizza at 12 o'clock at night. And hey, I completely understand because I was there. Believe me,
I did that too, by the way.
we all do it. But I think it's a misconception to say, I can start later because you really want to start self-care and taking care of yourself, whether it's through, exercise, diet, mental health, meditation. Just start early and create those habits now because it's all a matter of creating habits. Health is so much a matter of creating habits. So if your audience is listening to you and says, wow, Dr. Mike says I should like start my day with meditation, if they start doing this now instead of saying, well, when I'm 40 years old and I start feeling aches and pains, maybe I'll start then. No, start now. It's really important because it will carry over and you'll just feel better for longer. And my untrendy, well, I've been in this health business long enough to see trends come and go. And it's always very upsetting to me. And now any trend I always take with a grain of salt because I've seen, first when I was starting my health journey, it was, the food pyramid where we had to have like 11 servings of carbs. So carbs were good. Now carbs are not good. Fat was, the demon, and now fat is, embrace fat. And you can always find science to back up whatever you're saying. And I always try to follow the latest scientific research on nutrition. And of course, the biggest trend right now is eat all this protein. And I'm going to make a prediction here on your show that trend, well, that trend is going to be replaced. I think I know it'll be replaced by, but I was sort of, so I tried, okay, right? Especially women, because I follow a lot of midlife women health experts, and they're all saying, do resistance training and eat a ton of protein.
Mhm.
So, you know, someone who's been experimenting with diet for as long as I have, I've said, all right, I'm going to experiment. I tried eating more protein. I felt awful. I felt stuffed, overfull, constipated. I'm like, what is the big benefit of this? I don't feel well. I trust my body. And I just predicted, well, there's going to be a backlash. They're going to find something wrong with this theory, or they're going to walk it back. And sure enough, just in the past couple of weeks, I've seen several experts come out and say, you know what, we really don't need to eat as much protein as they're suggesting. So this trend I think is going to go by the wayside. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, protein's important. Fat's important. Vitamins and minerals are important. Fiber is important. There are lots of elements that go into a healthy diet, and protein is one of them. But to say that, you need 1 gram of protein for every pound of body weight, I mean, if you're a 175-pound guy, you don't have to stuff yourself with 175 grams of protein because, for one thing, I think that's just eating too much for your body, and I think there might be consequences later on. So I would just say that, eat a normal amount of protein that makes you feel good. The recommended dose now, it's a little higher than the RDA. What I've sort of settled on is about 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight. So you'll have to do that conversion. But anywhere between like 70 and 100 grams for like a normal sized person is plenty, plenty. And I just think that as time goes on, you'll see this whole protein trend drop off and it's going to be replaced by fiber. Fiber is so important. It's good for gut health, it's good for brain health. So, so don't be, intimidated by, oh my God, I got to eat this protein snack and this protein snack and get my grams up. No, no.
Interesting, interesting. Yeah, I'm old enough to also have seen a million fads when it comes to nutrition. I mean, if you stick around long enough, everything is going to move. Eggs are good for you. No, they're not good for you. It's like,
Exactly, exactly. And you know what? Judge how you feel.
yeah,
You're the best judge of there's no one size fits all diet. So, definitely experiment and see what makes you feel the best, what gives you the most energy and lets you go on with your day without feeling too tired and you'll figure it out.
yeah, for sure. Your book is really interesting to me. You've talked a little bit about the unhealthy relationship that you were in, and you described the moment that you began to feel free again. And for you, it was really a spiritual awakening of sorts. What did freedom feel like to you after years of being under control and fear?
It was just blissful. I mean, it was like a flower bud just opening. It was finding myself again because I had lost myself. And it was just this walking into yourself that was missing, that was almost dead. And and I know I said this before, but it wasn't like one particular moment, like all of a sudden, yay, I'm free. It was a gradual opening. It was a compounding of being quiet, meditating, and having insights. I had some insights, and I I think I tried so hard to convey that as beautifully as I could in the book because it's a real hard thing to convey in words. When this happens to you, like I said, I mean the best way I can describe it is this flower bud just opening. But one of the insights I had that I think I'm sure I described better in the book, but I'm going to try and give it a shot here, is one of the characteristics that I learned about in Buddhism is the concept of impermanence. That and you could say, yeah, yeah, impermanence, we know everything changes. And that's, on the surface, yes, everything changes. But when you have a really profound insight into impermanence, that, you know, things arise and things pass away, arise and pass away. And that's sort of what you do when you're meditating. You see a thought arise and then you let it pass away. So when you realize that on a deep, deep level, you realize that there's nothing really to hold on to in this life because it's all going to pass away. And when you realize there's really nothing to hold on to, I realize, well, what am I holding on to in this bad marriage? Why can't I just let it go? And that was like, a little bell going off in my head And that's towards the end of the book. That's after like days and days and days of meditation. You don't just come to that. It has to be on this really deep level that you realize this. But impermanence is just such a great concept to keep in mind because the Buddha says that all suffering is caused by desire or craving. We want things. And when they're not going the way we want, we suffer. So if you don't want anything because you know you can't hold on to it and it's going to pass away anyway, it gives this freedom in your mind. And it's a wonderful feeling, and you can go throughout your daily existence without all this stress of grasping and wanting. And then when we don't get it, we feel bad.
Yeah. Really interesting. You've been on such a fascinating journey. I found yoga when I was in college as well, and I found it senior year because they forced us to take a phys ed course. I'm an accounting major, right? What do I know about phys ed? So I looked at all the phys ed, there was like bowling. I mean, I don't know, there's all these things, right? And so I picked yoga, and I think I was the only guy in the entire class. This turned out to be a positive, by the way. But I was the only male in the class, and I tell you what, the teacher was fantastic, and she really taught me how to relax every part of my body systematically. And I still use that today, 30 years later. I'm still using that every time I go to bed. And everybody, when they see me like pass out, I'm out in about 5 seconds. And people are like, I have no idea how you do that. That's incredible. And I'm like, just take a yoga class. I don't know what else to tell you, but they will teach you how to do this. Like, this is an actual like steps. So that's it really kind of started my whole, journey with mindfulness. And is there anything else that you would recommend to our listeners in terms of starting their own mindfulness journey?
Well, besides some of the things I mentioned about, slowing down, pausing,
Hmm.
getting grounded,
Hmm.
of course, there are lots of resources on the internet and
Hmm.
lots of apps. I mean, it just depends on what you're attracted to. So, like there's apps like Headspace or
Yes.
Insight Timer.
Right.
Um, I mean, you can listen to teachers, or you can just listen to a mindfulness meditation. Now, I prefer just not listening to anyone. The meditation that I learned was just, being quiet. It's called insight meditation. And if anyone's interested in insight meditation, they can look that up and learn more about it. Or just learn a little bit more about the Buddhist teachings, just basically the Four Noble Truths. I mean, that's one of the monks at the monastery told me, if you want to know anything about Buddhism, just know the Four Noble Truths. That's the granddaddy of Buddhism. And there's so many other, I just keep finding di wonderful resources. There's community groups where you can get into a community and discuss your experiences with other meditators. There's programs you can attend. There's retreat centers you can go to in person. It just depends what you're looking for and how much effort you want to put into it. But I just want to stress that even 5 minutes a day of meditation can be so helpful and so beneficial because, as you mentioned after your yoga class, I mean, why do we keep going back to this stuff? It's because we feel so good afterwards.
Mm.
It's like after you do yoga, you just feel so calm and wonderful and happy. And after a session, again, you just feel so good. And we all want, we're all striving to be happy. We all want to feel good. And these resources are out there. So just take a look around, see which ones resonate with you at the particular time in your life and what you can manage. Maybe right now you can only manage 5 minutes a day, but maybe, once you're you graduate and you have a job or you have a busy family, maybe you thought, oh boy, I better do 20 minutes a day or maybe I want to go on a retreat. So, I mean, it's vast opportunities to practice. Just again, I'm all about what what resonates with you because you'll keep up with that. And of course, consistency, just like anything else, whether it's exercise or diet, consistency is key. So,
Those are some excellent suggestions. Definitely go back and listen to that because there's a whole host of different ideas in that answer. And that's really fantastic. Now, I know you're all into nutrition and I love good food. I'm wondering, is there any place that has some good, healthy foods that are in your area there in Locust Grove, Virginia, that I should be checking out?
I would say the best place to go in Locust Grove is probably my house.
Okay, we'll show up at your house.
Because I cook dinner every night. It's not gourmet, but it's always delicious and healthful. And where I live, I'm not really not a big restaurant goer.
Yeah,
And a lot of times I'll go to a restaurant and it'll be like, it was okay. Wasn't really like as good as I could do at
I can make
home.
it better at home.
So, so I know college students have a really rough time with
Yeah.
food choices, but even if there's a place where they can, I always say, try to cook at home if you can. Try to be in control of your own food choices, even if it's a shared kitchen. Oh God, when I was in college, I had so many group homes I lived in, and we all shared the kitchen. You can always come up with something simple but healthy and tasty. So,
Fantastic. Really good advice. I love it.
mhm.
So, Lori, where can our listeners find your book? It's called Unexpected Awakening. How can they connect with you? Maybe they want to invite you to come and speak on their college campus. How can they connect with you?
Well, my book, I do have it on Amazon right now. That's the best place to buy it. I have a print version and a Kindle version, and you can just look it up on Amazon, Unexpected Awakening, and the subtitle is 22 Days at a Buddhist Monastery Freed Me from Abuse. And I'm going to try to put it on some other platforms as well. But right now it's only on Amazon. You're welcome to visit my website, which is Laurie, Lauries, which is my middle name, Jacobson. So it's lauriesjacobson.com. There's a contact form on the website, and I'm love to make myself available to talk to people. Anyone who has questions, I'm here to serve you. So please, if you want to get in touch, just use the contact form on my website. Um, and I do have a little Instagram thing that my young ones told me I had to have. So that's at Laurie Jacobson author. But I do speaking around my area. I've done a lot of speaking locally. I'd be happy to speak to any group that's interested because my mission is to inspire and motivate people to live a happier life, and that includes embracing mindfulness and meditation and having healthy relationships. So
All
please
good to me.
feel free to get in touch.
Yeah, I think that's great. Well, definitely go to Lori's website, go and check that out, and connect with her on Instagram too. I think the young people in your life, they absolutely know what they're talking about.
I
So
know.
I'm happy to see that they're pushing you to post a little bit on Instagram. I think that's wonderful. And of course, the book is called Unexpected Awakening by Laurie S. Jacobson. Go and pick that up at Amazon today. And Lori, thank you so much for sharing all this great information with us. We appreciate it.
Well, it's been my pleasure. So thanks for having me, and good luck to all you college students out there. The future is bright. Keep saying that to yourself.
The future is very bright. I am very confident in Gen Z, and I am thankful every single day that they are here because they are motivated and they want to make the world a better place. And they're into health and nutrition too, which is just wonderful. Like so good.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, I'm really happy that they're here, needless to say. So anyway, so Lori, thank you so much to our audience. If you enjoyed this conversation with Lori, I want you to like it and I want you to share it with other college students that also need to pay attention to mindfulness in their own lives. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you on the next episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Bye for now.